Oh, it looks like she went from Clark Kent to Superwoman. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing good. You've been incognito. You've been busy lately.
We got hit by snow, so that's why I've been like I haven't been around the last couple days. You've been digging out because my car is rear-wheel drive, so it gets stuck in the snow.
Oh, that sucks.
I know. So I know because I was supposed to see you guys on Clubhouse the other day, but we were digging out my car.
No. Look at you looking all pretty and cute. With the lashes and all that stuff. Well, we want to thank you for joining us, for giving them their flowers, and it's time to give you yours.
Would you like orchids?
If you want to get flowers, let's ask us. If you want to get flowers, are you a flower girl?
I think so.
Do you like live flowers or cut flowers?
I would say cut flowers.
Okay. And what flower would that be? She seems like, to me, she seems like a lily. What about you?
The only ones that aren't dead. They're not dead.
Well, that sounds good. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How is my connection? Because the internet over here has been spotty. Because now...
No, you look good.
You look good to us.
Yeah.
Okay, because the snow is now ice.
Oh, no.
And so it's on the wires outside. So
no, you look great, as always. And I love your complexion in that room.
I know, right?
Oh, I know. It's the color cast is working on the melanin.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Well, the reason why we started to do this series this month is because it's Black History Month, and we wanted to showcase a photographer every day. And the reason why we wanted to showcase you is you give us an amazing perspective when we're in the Clubhouse chat rooms. You don't just give us our photographer's perspective. You give us a woman's perspective, and you give us a Black woman's perspective who happens to be in the business.
Yes, and who has been in the business for many
years. So you shut us down in that aspect, like, okay, let's listen to another point of view. What we also enjoy about you is how you, like when we have the rooms, you start pinging in all the sisters in a heartbeat, because we need to learn sometimes that it's not always about us.
Yes.
Just like they needed to learn it's not all about the white male business in the terms of photography.
Right.
You have been fighting an uphill battle for all of us, because you were a Nikon ambassador, you was a Profoto ambassador, and when you walk into those rooms, you walk into those rooms for all of us. Did you feel about it that way?
No, not in the beginning. Now I'm more aware of it. It took some time, but we all have to learn. You know what I'm saying? It you get so caught like in your own bubble. And it actually took my kids to becoming adults, quote unquote adults, because they still come home.
Your kids, right?
But it took my kids to kind of have their own thing, and then me realizing that, okay, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than that. But I was in my bubble for a while. So now I get it now, though. Absolutely.
And how does it feel to have that weight on your shoulders?
I will tell you this, that I'm glad that it is happening now, because I'm a little bit more grown up, and understanding that when you get in certain positions and you sit in these tables, that you have to respond a certain way. You have to say things a certain way. Things that would have been little, or you would have thought would have been little, they have a bigger impact if you don't respond. You all know how I am. I get real picky about certain stuff. But I wouldn't have been that way 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been that way. So I'm glad that it's happening now.
So the funny thing about it is, we've known each other for years. And I've always known you to be the businesswoman, and you play no games. When we're in Clubhouse sometimes, I'm always struggling talking to the artists, to some of these people, you are no nonsense and you always go completely, strictly business.
Yeah.
And it's not that you put your artistry aside. You are a businesswoman who happens to be a photographer, not a photographer that happens to run a business. And it's like, were you always that way? Or were you always fighting, or were you fighting your artistry, my artistry, and then you became a businesswoman?
Yeah.
No, I was always that way. I wish I was more artistic like y'all. That's why I'm always like, all right, I gotta go. But I do wish that I was more artistic in terms of, you know, as photographers, we all are artistic. You know what I mean? But I wish I was more, I understood the underlying thought processes. That's what I learned from YouTube, is how to understand the underlying thought process of artistry. So with that part said, I wish I was more artistic and was able to see beyond the business part. So.
Well, I look at your work. I see artistry. It's not that it's not artistry. I think with on our end, it's all about like a story or something. Where yours is more like capturing the essence of a person. That's an artist.
That's your
artistry.
Definitely
artistry. So I don't look at your work and say, "Oh, she's not artistic." No. There's definitely artistry there because it takes. You have to learn how to do that. That's a skill that you don't just because you got a camera. That don't mean you understand how to connect. How you connect with your subject.
And that's magic unto itself. But what she's talking about is like, oh my God, you know, I want to do this kind of job, but I'm not going to take your job because, you know, it's against my artist. And it's like, she has to go. And then she disappears from the room. And it's like,
right.
Seriously. So when the artist starts vomiting the emotions, she disappears from the room.
So, yeah.
So, she's like, I'm out of here. And she just disappears. So that's what we love about you. Audrey doesn't play. And she says, are you done with them? And then she'll come back. So that's what goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about a Clubhouse. There's a whole production going in the background. So let's talk about this. What made you pick up the camera to do this? Like you're a businesswoman. There's all other kinds of businesses you could have got involved in. But what made you pick up the camera?
Why photography?
Why photography?
Real talk, this like solid answer is I quit my job. Because we just kept having kids for whatever reason.
Because you're fucking.
I wasn't, you know, me clutch my pearls. But we kept having kids. And so I quit my job and my husband came home one day and with a little camera and said, maybe this will keep you busy. And so I was like, because you know, being in the house, the younger three were a year apart. And I know I was one of those. So you know, this camera, I used to get it, go outside, take my pictures. I still have them. I'm going to DM some of them to you. But I took the pictures and I just kept learning. And I went into, I get obsessed. And Dae, since we are fellow Taurus, you know, we get focused, we get locked on something. And
yeah, that's it.
We got to learn it to the end. Yeah. And so that's how that started. But when, you know, you start getting a little better, I still sucked. But back then, it was better. People would say, take pictures of my kids. Can you do this? And it did not make sense to me to be away taking pictures of somebody else's children and I wasn't getting paid for it. I could not wrap my head around it. It took me 0.2 seconds to go into business. I'm serious.
So let me ask you a question. What kind of work were you doing prior to photography? Because I've only known you as the photographer. Yeah. Like you came out the womb and you had a camera and you started working. So what was Audrey doing?
I was the computer programmer. And I worked for a Fortune 500 company. Nice. And I was over the entire department at 22 years old.
Oh, nice.
That explains a whole lot.
Yes, all the people who worked for me were like 50, 40. I'm this little whippersnapper with the same attitude. So
the whippersnapper dipped in chocolate. Yes, so that plays a big factor in everything.
And that's why you're able to move how you move.
And that's how you move, Everything falls into place now. Because you enter rooms that you belong in,
Very,
and they
very
don't understand why you belong there.
Yes, very, very confident.
Wow. So let's talk about this. So we're going to talk about your ambassadorships, and what does that mean when someone's an ambassador to a particular brand, and you got picked up by Nikon? So what did that mean business-wise, and what did that mean for you?
And more importantly, how did you feel? I want to know how you feel when you got the email. I want to hear all of those things.
Oh, Jesus. I'll start there. You know, let me just say this part. Every camera brand is different. How they do things is totally different. Nikon, one thing I said this actually in a interview I did on Clubhouse the other day. Yes, I am with Nikon, but I appreciate this about them, period. They move like I move, meaning that they move in silence, and I like that part. They were vetting me for about 2 years. And I say that because Nikon does not get they don't get their flowers. They don't get their flowers for some of the moves that they make because they're not projecting it. They wanted to have Black ambassadors years ago. They wanted to bring in more people of color years ago, where they actively did this. Were the first woman of color, Charmy Pena, became an ambassador in 2017. So she was getting vetted before that.
Right.
Then they brought on more speakers to be vetted back and starting 2017. So I started in the end of 2017, 2018. So they were vetting me. And that's not an overnight process. They did not. I found this out in hindsight, by the way. I didn't know then. You know what I mean? They told me this once I got it. They want to work with people that they get along with, who fit in with the team, who do all of that. So that's something that they just don't do. They don't figure out, right? Oh, you take pretty pictures. Come work with us. They don't get down like that. So I didn't know this. So this is going to answer how you felt, Dae. So I'm like, okay, they want me to speak. Fine. You want me to come to CES? Okay. You want me to speak? You know, and at the time, I did not see any Black women ambassadors. So honestly, I did not think that was something that would ever come to me. It was not something that I expected. It's just one of those things that as Black people, we just feel that we just don't get. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just not a possibility.
Totally understand.
Yeah, so you go, it's like, okay, with no expectation at all. So fast forward, I spoke at every convention that that came up with over the 2 years. They had me there. 2020 comes along again, speaking at the conventions, had no idea. They start, not Nikon, but other I think trying to tell the story properly. Because Dae wants all the juice. He wants all the feelings. 2020 comes around, and a lot of brands, not just camera brands, I mean, all camera brands are getting that smoke. You know what I mean? They're getting the smoke. And some camera brands reacted to the smoke. Nikon is kind of like, well, we were getting ready to do this anyway. What do we do? Do we want to be known for reacting to the smoke, or do we be authentic? Again, I didn't know this. But with that part said, I saw other camera brands doing stuff, and people were saying to me, are you going to get this? I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. And I remember saying to one of my friends, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'm still going to shoot.
You're still a businesswoman. You're still Audrey. Right.
I'm still going to do it. I literally said that. I was like, I'm not switching to camera brands. I'm just staying right where I'm at. Basically, I don't give a fuck. That's kind of how, you know what I mean? That's kind of, I don't do stuff for fame. So I did an interview on their Instagram channel. Still, people say, are you gonna get it? I'm like, basically, I got to the point, like, don't ask me anymore.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, and then 2 days later, they called and said, hey, we want to offer you ambassadorship. Now, mind you, this was after all of the brands, different brands were caving to pressure. Do you know what I'm saying? They were holding strong because they were going to still do what they were going to do regardless.
It was already in the cards.
Yeah, and they were like, no one was going to pressure them into doing different things. And
right. No one was going to pressure them to do the right thing.
Yes, because they were already, this was stuff they were planning years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, I like this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we are here. Mm-hmm. So they called me. I swear to God, you all are not even going to believe this, though. I actually cried.
You're right. We don't believe it.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So, okay, you're on a call. They say this to you. What happens next? Yeah. Like, did you turn the call? You scream your husband's name?
I cried. My husband and my son come running into my office. They like, what the hell is going on?
right.
Like they had no idea. So then my husband kind of was like, he kind of looked at me. He knew, and he was like, tell my son, like, no, it's good. So,
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, that was kind of the call. I was embarrassed because I do not do the waterworks. So that was a little embarrassing, but that's kind of how I felt, and that was how I got that call.
Wow, that's beautiful. That was beautiful.
So we're gonna continue by the ambassadorship thing. We're still gonna continue down the ambassadorship line. What does it mean to be an ambassador for Nikon?
I would say, what's the word? It is about education. Mm-hmm. And whoever just said that about my dang gone tooth, that's not a compliment. Talking about I know that was said in love. Don't say that to nobody else. With that part said, it is about, education. Mm-hmm. If you give back to the industry, so they will have you do some teaching, which I was already doing, and that's also part of the things that they check, you know what I'm saying, that they want. And I guess you're pretty much a spokesperson for what you already do.
Right.
So if that makes any sense, just trying to condense it down.
Nice.
So like you just said, you just amplified your voice because everything they were asking you to do, you're already doing.
Yes.
There you go. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
We're finding, especially through Clubhouse, that a lot of people want to be ambassadors.
Yeah.
And we go to a lot of pages and we see that they call themselves ambassadors, and we do due diligence. So we go to some of these pages and we see they're not listed there. What do you tell a person, or how do you feel when people call themselves ambassadors and they're not? And would you warn them not to do that?
Don't do that. Don't do that because brands are there. Brands are all over social media. It does give I think a bad word. I think it gives people. I think it's bad word of mouth. Mm. If that's it's bad word of mouth.
Because we learned from you. You was to say so and so from so-and-so from Profoto's in the room, or so-and-so from Westcott's in the room.
Because we're
not in that world, so we don't know until you tell us. And at that point, we start following these people like, oh, okay, what's going on? So you're right, they're there, and we don't even know it.
Yeah, we never know it. We're always like,
we're just having a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. You always want to put your best foot forward. You always want to, but still be yourself. Because I'm always going to be me.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be myself. But I think that, be very mindful of who you are around. Be mindful of where conversations may be going. You know what I mean? Things like that. Things that are beyond your control. Even let's say just using the app Clubhouse, a conversation can happen, and none of us would have any, not even be part of it. We could just be there. They could be in the bathroom, and a whole conversation about OnlyFans is going. I mean, I'm just saying, anything can happen. Yeah. So you have to be very mindful of that. So no, don't say you are an ambassador when you're not. If everyone can be an ambassador, they would. So so with that part said, it's almost like when when people say I want the cover of Vogue or I want to be on the cover of Essence, and Dallas's words, does your work look like Essence? It's really what do you have any value to bring to the table to be an ambassador of any company? I think even so, you don't badmouth other companies to make another company look good. Like, I've never been one to say, even before Ambassadorship, bad mouthing a Canon or bad mouthing a Sony. I don't do that. Do you know what I'm saying? So
it doesn't make the Nikon brand better by you bashing somebody else.
Yeah. Exactly. So even things that might be said in jest, just be really mindful of that. And I also would say that too. It's fortunately and unfortunately, we as Black people have to walk sometimes a different path. Some things that other people who are less melanated may be able to say, we just can't. If you want to get that foot in the door, and let me just be clear. I'm not saying alter who you are. And I'm not saying that we always have to get our foot in somebody's door. But what I am saying is that in order for change to happen, somebody got to make their way to the door. Somebody has to get there. And as I, tell some of my friends that, yeah, all right, this doesn't look good, but somebody got to get in there who will make change, because there are people who can get into certain places and make change. And there's some people who are just happy and content of being there. I'm not the latter Black person. It may look like that.
Up the list.
Yeah, it may look like that because I'm not, on Facebook rah-rah, but I don't keep my mouth shut.
So let me ask you a question. You have a company called Kids in the City, and you have teens. I saw the teen one too. How did you get into shooting kids? Like, how did you know that was your niche, capturing kids or children?
I don't like photographing adults. I don't like photographing models. I just don't like it. I never have. I just never have, because I just don't. So you know how you never want to shoot a baby. You never want to. It's like it's something you just don't want to do.
Right.
I feel that way about models. I feel that way about weddings too. I just don't want to be around it. I prefer people, the little people. I don't like babies anymore either. So I like the teens a little bit more, because it's kind of like a hybrid between adults.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I got into the teens because all of the clients that I had when I began my business, they grew up. So when they started to grow up, I was, retaining my client base, and then I just extended it, with that word of mouth, and just stayed with teens. So Kids in the City is still the teenagers, but I kind of added the teens for two reasons. One jerk took my Kids in the City name. So that was A. Because Kids in the City was not really the plan. I was always Audrey Woulard Photography. And when I became Kids in the City, that's a whole long story. But I did KATC Teens because someone took Kids in the City.
Oh.
That sucks. So now that you have this business, it's a family affair. Whose idea was it to bring your husband on board to work with you?
My husband. Well, you know what? All right. Let me go back. He's always owned his own business. He's owned his own business since we've been together, since really, really young. So he owned barbershops.
Nice.
And so he used to cut hair, and then he bought the shop he was at. And that's pretty much what he did until he stopped cutting, but he still owned the businesses, right? And he said he got tired of that, of doing it, right? And I have trust issues with people. And so he said it made more sense for him to be, head of that aspect of my business, because I obviously trust him, and then he would handle that business part, and I can just be the photographer or put more into that. So I like to consider myself what I call the front of the house. So
okay,
I'm the face.
It makes sense.
I'm the one that talks. I'm the one that, but he's behind the scenes. And he does all of the business stuff. He runs the AW Teaches website,
yes.
That type of stuff.
Nice. That was about to be my next question.
What's your next question?
You develop AW
teaches,
and you guys came up with a platform that's like, who did all of the computer work and all of that stuff? Because
since you're a programmer,
since you're a programmer, which one?
I didn't do it. So I was approached by some bigger platforms that are out there. Not that many, but you can do sit down and figure it out. And they everybody's going to take a cut, right? Everybody's going to take a cut of your money, and they deserve a cut. They deserve it. But my husband was like, well, I can build it. So I was like, work. And so, I mean, that's literally, and really, I was just going to jump on to the people who were already out there killing it, who asked me to do it. And they were taking a cut, and it was going to end up being 20, I would end up getting 25%.
You were getting 25% of your business.
I would. I didn't do it, though.
Okay.
But it was like the company producing it gets 50, and then the photographer whose name it is gets 50. But when they bring me on, I get 25% of the photographer's cut. Does that make sense? And
it doesn't. I understand the numbers. No, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, no. Okay. But then that's why we were like, hell no. Okay, so that's when he was like, well, I'm going to build your own. And it took off from there.
Nice. So when you're on stage at those conventions, and you're speaking at those conventions, like, how does that make you feel? Like, I suck at talking. Well, lies. I do really well at talking and just the conversation starter. I'm not that person. I do really well like talking. I just have
I'm in the front of the house.
Yeah. I was even like, okay, Dae, we'll do this. And next thing you know, I start fumbling, and then somehow it works. But yeah. How do you feel when you're speaking publicly at those conventions? How does it make you feel being on stage?
You know what's funny? I hate Facebook Live. I hate it. I hate Instagram. I hate this. So I'm just gonna be honest.
Well, thank you for indulging us.
The only reason I do it is if I'm able to talk to people, and it's easy to talk to y'all because we talk. But with the stage, it took me a minute to get used to it, to find your groove. And understanding that being on stage is curated to who you are, and that's what makes it good. I prefer speaking on stage than speaking on Instagram Live because I can see people. I know what they're thinking. I can peg the entire audience and know if somebody is bored, somebody is tired, somebody's engaged. I mean, literally like the term, like, got it. So I can curate what I say and how I say it based on
the room.
Based on the room.
Nice.
Based on reading the room.
So that's why I can read a room good on Clubhouse too. I can read a room. But you can't read a room on Facebook Live because you can't see it.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. You can't see it. So that's why I'm like, I'm not doing this. That's why you never. I know my lane and I stay in it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of these speaking engagements.
Yeah.
The seat that's in front of you, do they look like them or do they look like us?
Them.
And in doing so, do you ever bring in your perspective as a Black woman?
I can't help but do it. I'm Black. I don't think that I don't think, and I'm not saying you all are saying this, I'm just talking in general, by the way. Yeah. I don't think I should have to sing and dance and perform just because I'm Black and perform like I'm Black. I'm Black. That's what you get. So because of that, that's what I bring to the table. Sometimes people think we should curate different stuff because we Black, as if they can't see us. Do you know what I'm saying? So the way I act, the way I talk, the way I walk, the experiences I share are always going to be from the perspective of a Black woman. Now, from face value, could it match perhaps those who are less melanated? Yeah, it could. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be them. I'm being me, and it's still going to be from a Black woman's perspective. I should not have to sing and dance and shuck and jive just because you all think I should, okay, I'm gonna stop. I see it coming. All right.
Yep. Stop. One thing I noticed about you, you are one of the photographers that I know that help other photographers. I've seen you literally reach into the audience and say, look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to
connect you. Yep.
I'm going to connect you. You're a connector. I've seen it. You've done it for us.
You've done it for us.
You've done it for other people. I've seen you do it. Being a connector, what makes you feel, is it something that makes you feel not obligated, but responsible? What makes you do that? What's that drive?
Because I don't want to talk in absolutes because that just, that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coming up, no one was doing it. Do you know what I mean? That just didn't happen. And it could be that I didn't reach out. It could be that, people who had a chance to bring up others didn't know how to do it. It could be so many different ways. The reason I do it, honestly, is because, not that I feel that I should, it's just that I can.
Mm.
And, but I didn't, and could I have done it years ago? I mean, I have done it years ago, but not at the scale I'm doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to come from a place of sincerity. I don't want it to come from a place of clout chasing.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally
so
understand.
I needed to be in a actual position to be able to say, hey, you go do this, and I don't have to tell anybody. I don't want to make a post, tag people, hey, so-and-so, check this out. That's clout chasing to me, and I don't have time for that. But that's my personality, though. You know what I mean? No disrespect to anyone else, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But with me, I wanted to be in a position where I could just say, I can shoot an email. I can do all of that. And I don't have to shout it from the rooftops because I don't need nor want that clout, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. It's just seeing what happens is seeing someone. It's like you said, it's two different types of people who give. There's people who give and they want people to know that they're giving, and it's people who give and nobody knows. Like Prince was giving a ton of things to people and nobody knew.
That's so inspiring.
We found out about that after he passed away.
Absolutely. And even with you, it's not that we found out because you said, hey, I'm helping you out. I'm gonna do this. You don't do that. It'll be quiet, and the next thing you know, a person be like, Audrey did this for me, and it's like, oh, that's dope.
That's dope, right?
And so you hear different things, and it's like you have to give you your flowers, is what we say. Yeah,
exactly. But one thing I find out about Audrey is her authenticity. This is what we enjoy about you. Your authenticity shows that, yes, I'm going to do for you because you deserve it. Right. I'm not doing it for you merely because you're Black.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we appreciate it about you. There's so many things happening in today's society that a lot of us are getting put on merely because we check a box.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
And I enjoy that you don't do that. You see, when you made some of the connections you've been making for us, you saw value in our work, you saw the expertise, and you saw that we can deliver whatever needed to be delivered.
And the education.
And the education and stuff. So let me ask you this question, which is a good pivoting thing. When you see the younger photographers, especially the women, who want to go down your path, but they're not doing the things in order to make that happen, do you pull their coattail? Like, if this is what you want to do, let me know. No.
You know why? This is a very 100% honest reason why. Because I had my bubble starting, when my kids are little, and and my bubble was just because, I had a husband and 4 kids. That I needed to make sure everybody was happy. I didn't care what anybody else was doing. Because of that, and then social media did nothing but grow. Sometimes a perception of me was created that didn't exist, and not just because they didn't know me. And you all can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, that makes me gun shy to pull someone aside that I don't know, because they would not appreciate the spirit in which I am doing it. Now, there are people that I have made connections with that are newer photographers, and but we've made connection, just a natural connection. May have met them at a convention, and because now we have that connection, I can say, okay, look, I'm gonna give you this, but don't do this, don't say that, make sure you go this way, turn left, stop, go. You know what I mean? And I will do that, you know, and they understand the spirit. They got it, move, flourish, totally flourish, and no one knows that we even friends until they pop up someplace. How they know each other? You know what I'm saying? So, but if I don't know them, I don't.
Because wait, go ahead.
Just thinking about how the young photographer, Polly, the young photographer, it's a bunch of young Black photographers who are
making moves.
Female photographers who are making a lot of moves. And when you were introducing to the room to Leah, and it's a bunch of young photographers that was like, I didn't know about them. And you said, no, they're doing some amazing things. Let me show you. And you introduced the entire room to these young photographers, young artists. And we're seeing that they're doing, like you said, they're doing major things, and it's incredible. And it's just interesting to see that it just looked like it's you, and you like, come on.
right.
You know, it's like the funny thing is that I can't remember where I was at. We noticing so many things on Clubhouse now that you just don't know, you know, about, you know what I mean? It's like a different culture. But I was in a room, and I'm going to DM you the photographer's name, but a very accomplished Black photographer. Hopped on stage with his humble spirit.
I know who you are.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Already.
Hopped on stage, and it's all white people. And they were talking to him as if he was new. But he didn't say, I'm this person, you know, that whole introduction. I'm this, I did that. I walked around the block with Jesus on my shoulder. He didn't do that. So he got on the stage and just asked a question. And so they were talking to him like he was new. And I didn't say a word until he was done. I said, let me let you know who he is.
Yeah.
He had this cover. Google him, you know, and the whole room went quiet. You see what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, I know that I have to use my position in that way, because I sometimes feel as Black photographers, we are seen first as not accomplished.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm making sense when I say that.
I think, you know what it is? It's sometimes just because it's like this tier of photographers where everybody should know their names. And these other photographers who are working, everybody should know their name, but they've been working. But
you've been seeing their work.
If you know, you know. So when you see him on stage, it's like, oh, I know. Y'all don't know?
That's literally how, and I'm like, okay, now that everybody got their
rocks off.
Yeah,
right.
Let me drop this mic on y'all, and let me tell you who he really is.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And I actually.
So what was the response? Because I would love to say his name, but what was the response?
So, first, it was silence. I mean, that uncomfortable silence. And so I said, are y'all Googling?
Yes, because they are.
Yeah, and then it was, given the praise that he deserves. But, it was kind of like, why are we assuming, this? It happened. I've seen it happen a couple times.
It happens to us.
It happens all the time.
All the time.
Like, literally, when they see, like, they'll see me shooting, and they'll be like, oh, so what you shoot with? And I'm like, a camera. And they'll start talking to me about, oh, well, when you do this, and you have to learn this. So I just sit there and listen. I don't take offense to it or anything. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And they're like, oh, so what's your Instagram or what's your website? And I give it to them, and then they're like, you didn't say that you was a professional. You didn't tell me you did this.
But why do we have to?
Why do you have to?
Right.
It's the perception. If I felt there was anything that I needed to do within my career right now, is changing the perception where I can for Black photographers in non-Black spaces.
So let me ask the question while we're in this place.
Before, I think that's what you're doing. You're doing that. But go ahead.
What perceptions do you think need to be changed about Black photographers, both men and women?
Is
is it on us or is it on them? Let's put that out there.
Oh God, Dallas, Jesus Christ. Okay, so
You know me, you know my opening line. Can I ask you a question?
You just so deep, so deep. I think that it's twofold. I'm gonna give a twofold answer.
Mm-hmm.
It is on them to not assume, and it's on us to start infiltrating spaces that don't seem that safe.
You said it.
Those are the two. Like, it's always, oh, well, they need to come to us. They need to try to, no. I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. But it has to go both ways. I mean, just again, using Clubhouse, I have sat in rooms full of 200 white people. I'm the only one that's there. And that's not from lack of pinging.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see them pop in and leave. And then maybe one or two stay. And I told y'all that. And I'm like, I've been in rooms all day and they are white.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you there?
I think what's interesting is a lot of, I'm going to use black and white. I'm saying it. A lot of black photographers follow black photographers. A lot of white photographers follow white photographers. You happen to be the person who know black photographers and white photographers. So on your timeline, it pops up. So on a person who doesn't follow a lot of white photographers, they won't even be able to see the rooms because you're not connected to them. That's why when we get in our rooms, I like our rooms because it's mixed.
It's mixed.
It's a mixed crowd. You get to meet all different photographers.
Asians,
all different,
white,
black,
white
walks of life,
Nigerian,
all different styles.
Swiss.
Photojournalistic photographers, portrait photographers, fashion and beauty. You get all product photographers. So when you start following these people, you get opened up to those bigger rooms.
Exactly. Or not necessarily bigger rooms, but different rooms.
Different rooms.
And when you go into those different rooms, just being there is enough because they get to see your perspective. They get to hear your voice, and because they don't know like we don't know. Like it's a bunch of photographers I got introduced to because of Clubhouse. I never would have known these people, and I'm like, oh, you do this. This is cool. I'm going to follow you. So I think it's broadening our friend circle. Yep. You have to follow different people, and it's not to say that you are what is it? You're not like trading or anything, or turning your back on your people. It's more like you're getting more. You're making your friend circle bigger. So I think what you're doing is absolutely, it makes sense. And a lot of people didn't see it that way until you brought it up. Why aren't you guys in these rooms? And they have to come in there and actually speak and be a part of it.
You made that point abundant in one of our rooms. It's like you're always talking about wanting to get to the next level. You're always talking about you want to do these jobs, but you're not putting yourself in these rooms with these people who can make these changes for you. Mm-hmm. So how can I expect to want to do that if I don't expose myself to that and expose them to me?
And another thing is they don't see you. These companies can't see you if you're not in the rooms.
Exactly. And the thing is too, and I wish I probably can sit on this and come up with an answer. Maybe we can do it on Clubhouse one day. I'm gonna give you two thought processes. If I do a room by myself, just using again Clubhouse as an example because we can see it. You know what I mean? You see what people look like there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If I do a room on Clubhouse, it's mostly white.
Yes.
It's not mixed like yours. Now I will, if I have a stage, my stage is going to be mixed.
Mm-hmm. But let me bring in something to you. You may be the reason why our rooms are mixed.
Yes.
Now let me add another thing. I have also noticed that people that I know know me start following other Black photographers because I mention them.
Yes. And I love you introduce us to a few people and they come into the room. Even when you're not in the room, they come into the room. And it, again, I think it's the introduction. You made the introduction and they finally get to see. It's like, oh, you never had this type of photographer before. Oh, wait, he's cool. Oh, I didn't know. So
the type of quality. They don't realize that Black photographers have a particular quality of work as well.
I think the introduction of what you've been doing has been helping bridge a gap that has been a conversation that has been happening behind closed doors on both sides and nobody speak on. But you've been bridging this gap and have been making people see that there's more out there. There's more to white people. There's more to Black people. Y'all need to stop whispering in your corners and say hi. And I think that whole thing that you're doing is so amazing.
And then can I say this? there is a difference in the way that it needs to be done, and I'm going to try to tread carefully here, but it needs to be said. Is that first and foremost, it can be uncomfortable for us as Black people to go in different rooms, just as it is for white people to come in different rooms. It's equally as uncomfortable. It can be, but I do think that the way I don't know why I'm picking up my editing pen. Why am I doing that?
You're trying to retouch what you're saying.
I know, I'm just like this, but I think that I and try to introduce people who look like me to a broader audience that I know follows me from a place of, these are great people. These are, I really try to do that. I don't do it in a way of, you all not recognizing Black folk, so we're going to go over here. There's a difference, because the way I'm doing it is inviting and saying, oh, okay, because I think that it is okay if they didn't know, and now they know.
Yeah.
And
you're not doing it out of guilt. It's not a guilt thing.
I'm not trying to guilt nobody. Exactly.
You know what it remind me of? This is going to sound so weird. It's like, look, when you got something that's good, this food, like, you ever had something, go. Have this food. It's good.
So she understands the analogy because she's a tourist, so she understands the food analogy.
I feel you, because I'm hungry.
So one more thing. I want to say, I love. We talked about Nikon. Can we please talk about Profoto? Because that's how I got introduced to you. We were in Brooklyn, and this commercial came up with Profoto, and we see you.
But I already knew it then.
Yeah, he already knew you. And I was like, is that a Black girl from Profoto? He was like, yeah. I was like, what the fuck? So I'm happy.
Because Dallas ripped apart my black and whites. I still ain't forgave him for that.
I saw you on TV, because we was watching you on Apple TV, and we saw the commercial, had to go to YouTube and then rewatch the commercial, and was like, this is so dope. I'm so happy. And this is before 2020, this is back, and it was like amazing. I think for me, it was more like you get to see yourself for these major brands, and she doing her thing, and it was just like, this is beautiful. I love what's happening. I love everything about it. It was like, I didn't even care. I was just like, yes, 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 yes. And then we were on Clubhouse. I had no idea. And I was like, oh, that's Audrey.
You are such a tourist.
That's Audrey from Profoto. What do you mean? I'm like, are you serious? That's Audrey from Profoto. Like, remember back in Brooklyn? He's like, get out of here. I haven't seen the commercial again. And I bring it up. We're walking the dog in the dark at night. So I bring it up again. I shoot. Oh my God. Yep. I feel so stupid.
Yup.
And I was like, you should feel
There's
stupid.
A certain pride that, I don't know, I have whenever a person of color, one of us, get that shine, get that light put on them, it makes me feel so happy. It's like, wow, this is so incredible. And it was nothing else. I was like, keep going, kill it. I was just so happy. I don't know. So talk about your Profoto commercial, the making it, just all the good stuff. How do you feel being a Profoto ambassador?
That was nuts. Not in a bad way. Let me say that part. Because that was the first Black person featured any place to sell a camera product.
And that's why I was so happy.
That was nuts. I've mentioned this to you. I love Profoto.
Mm-hmm.
I love them because, again, it was not in vogue to start featuring Black people. I love them for the support that they gave me just as a person, overall. But I still remember distinctly when they flew me out to Sweden to have a meeting with all of the marketing people and presidents of all of the different divisions. And I remember distinctly going down the stairs with the head of marketing. She said, because I think I asked her why they chose me. Because y'all know I'm nosy like that. Mm-hmm. So she said specifically that it was time to feature a woman and somebody of color. This was 2018, early 2018 or something. It was around there. And I was like, wow, they were putting their neck out there, and it was a country that was not the United States. Do you know what I'm saying?
As it always is.
Yeah.
And I'm in this space, and nobody looked like me. You know what I mean? No, not only that, everybody was blonde and tall. Dude, nobody looked like me, and they had me at their marketing meeting talking to all of these people, and I will never forget this. The owner of the whole company, I met, you know, me being Audrey, talking to these people, they ask me what I think. And when they say something I don't agree with, I'm like, okay, well, how do I say this? And I'm just like, well, I mean, what's going to happen now? They're going to send me home? So I said my opinion, and the owner's back there like, you know, basically I didn't sugarcoat. And so somebody was cutting me off, and he goes, let her speak. I was like, okay. Right? And so, and then from there, they was, you know, I mean, all this stuff is out now, so it's nothing confidential. But then they started asking my opinion about different things that weren't launched. You know, I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were planning, because this was, you know, when we were trying to condense the story, but when we were planning, when we finally said, hey, Audrey, we want you to do it, we decided we're going to do it in Barcelona. So I had to leave Sweden and then go over to Barcelona. They decided they wanted to have, you know, people, the people who were featured in the act who I was photographing, they didn't want them to be white. But it was hard to find
a black person in Barcelona.
Where you gonna find a
or in
black
Sweden.
Right. So they said, well, we, you know, when I showed them some of the pictures of ideas that I thought that I wanted to do, they said, hey, you fly your client out and their mom. So they flew, paid her, everything. So
nice.
Not like for clout. They took care of them and flew out my client, my dear client who I've been knowing forever. Because I had to pick who, you know, I would choose. And they made it about me and her. So that was me and my real client.
That I didn't know.
That's beautiful and that's brilliant.
That I did not know.
Like, kudos to Profoto. That's amazing.
Yeah, so they really took care of me, supported me. It was natural. Do you know what I mean? It was organic and authentic.
It was organic, right? Yes.
And so regardless, I feel I will always be indebted.
So this is a question that I always ask the photographers now on this platform. 3 adjectives that describe Audrey and why.
Ooh. Can we log off when you do that? Because I don't know.
It's 3.
Just 3.
Y'all don't gotta answer that one.
Well, we're gonna let that one slide for you because I know a few adjectives, but I'm not gonna say them. But this is for the gearheads now.
Okay.
What's in Audrey's bag, and what does Audrey like to shoot with now?
Ooh.
Light-wise, Profoto B10.
Okay.
I love that light. Like you'll be hard pressed to convince me to use a different light, unless you know it's upgraded. But that one for sure. Modifier, my 2-foot Octobox is perfect, double diffused. I can feather it. It just fits my personal style. One day I might try some hard light and just to blow Dallas's mind, but right now I'm gonna stick with the soft. Camera, my Nikon Z6 and Z7. I'm waiting for my Z7 II to arrive, so that hopefully should be here next week. Lens, you heard lens, not lenses. Lens, the 85mm 1.4.
Ooh.
And the only reason I would ever bring in another focal length is because I don't have the room, and that, you know what I mean? So it will be the 35mm 1.4. But I only pull that out if I don't have room to use my 85.
Nice.
And our last question before we let you go. What advice would you give to young female photographers of color in this world that we're living in right now?
Okay. Don't be intimidated by men. ever. And if you do feel intimidated by men, don't show it.
Nice. Now we're going to reset the room.
Try to figure something else.
And what's going to happen now, we want to get a good photograph that we can put on Instagram, or not even Instagram, but of course all social media.
So what we do is...
So we do a 3-second hold.
Are we on? Hold it. It works.
It works. It really does work, because Loretta was like, that last photo you put up of me, I wasn't pleased. So let's get a good one. So that's what we've been doing now. So let's get together, and we're going to do a 3-second hold. You ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I hope that works.
Audrey, oh my God, this interview was amazing. Thank you so much for doing
this.
Thank
you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
We love you
for doing this, because we know you don't like to.
Right.
But I can tell you the audience were very happy.
And we can see it.
And we'll see you on Clubhouse.
So where can people find you?
Yes.
All right. So where can they find me? I have a Facebook group, AW Teaches, so you can find that on Facebook. What's my website? Oh, KTC Teens, and then Clubhouse.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.